Okay. So please confirm again that if you are not speaking or you're not one of the speakers, that your mic is off, you're muted, so we don't hear your background sound. So today we're going to begin with Pastor Kikelomo Kupuni. She would be speaking to us today on retirement planning, on project financing, on planning for critical ailments and insurance. She's a retired banker. She's a lawyer who obtained her law degree in Obafemi Awolowo University. She was called to bar in 1989. Her career in banking was in GTB, and then she moved on to Sterling Bank, where she retired from. She's an alumnus of the Senior Management Program of the Lagos Business School. She's an honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, and she's also an author. She has authored a book called You, Your Money and You. So today we're very expectant to have some experience and financial advice from her. So be expectant and please listen up. Put up your questions in the chat room. We're going to have time for questions and answers. So Pastor Kike, I give the mic to you now. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you, Ola. Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity. I'll be sharing my screen so we can follow the presentation. Okay, so today we're talking about preparing for retirement. First thoughts. You know, when it comes to retirement, a lot of things, people react differently. For some, it will be, not yet, I'm not ready. For some, they will say, oh, I'm still strong, why should I retire? Or I don't have savings, I'm not retiring yet. For some others, it is an opportunity to rest. You know, I've been working for so long, I need to rest. Retirement is the act of leaving one's job after many years of service and ceasing to work. Why should I retire? Well, retirement is inevitable. It could be as a result of age, policy, or failing health. It could also be a decision that someone has made that, oh, I'm tired of working, I just need to retire, I need to go and rest. When do you retire? Usually retirement happens between the ages of 55 and 70 years, depending on the industry. For bankers, I think if you're a banker and you are not an executive management staff, retirement can start from 55 or even lower than that, because some people retire voluntarily, some are forced or coerced or instructed to retire by the employers. For some, it's a policy or regulation. I know for civil service, I think you can only spend 35 years. So regardless of your age, once you spend 35 years in service, you have to retire. So is planning necessary? Why should we plan? The Bible says in John chapter 9, verse 4, Jesus was telling his disciples that he must work the works of him who sent him while it is day, because the night comes when no man can work. So I feel retirement is that kind of night time that, you know, you can't work, or even if you are working, you can't work like you used to work. And then I looked at this verse in these verses in Genesis regarding the famine and the plenty, the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And you know, Joseph recommended that they should collect a fifth of the produce of the land in the rich years so that they can reserve it for the years of famine. That's a 20%, you know, that they should store up 20% in the years of plenty. So like I said, retirement is inevitable. So we must plan for it. It is something that will come. Whenever it comes, you must expect that it will come. You know, it can come early, it can come later, but it will definitely come. And if you fail to plan, that means we are planning to fail. And planning goes beyond financial planning. I will talk about the other things that you need to take into consideration. But, you know, a lot of focus is on money because, you know, it's like, this salary that I've been earning, these proceeds that I've been living on is not going to come as it used to anymore. So there is some sort of concern there. And time is of the essence as well, because if you are planning, you don't do last minute planning, you plan ahead. Time is an advantage if you start early enough. So what do we plan for? Retirement is a major life transition. It's like saying, okay, I'm in school, I'm graduating now, I'm going to start work, I'm going to start my life. You don't just go in, you don't just go with the flow. There must be some planning to it. You must have some ambitions, you must have some things that you want to happen during that period. So you plan for it. There's this common saying about the cycles of life. You know, retirement is the evening of life, if we look at it in line with this cycle. So the first 30 years are the morning. Some say 25 years, but 25 to 30 years, plus or minus 5 years, that is the morning. And then you come to the afternoon, which is like 30, 31 to 60 years. And then the evening is 61 years and above. That is the retirement period. And if we look at it that way, retirement can last up to 30 years or more because it is continuous. From the time you retire until the time you die, you are in retirement. So for some people, if they live long to be 90, 100 years old, then retirement can actually last 30 or more years. So this is the period that you are planning for. This is the period you are looking at. And what are the areas of interest? What are the areas you look at when you are talking about retirement planning? Spiritual preparation. Like I said, we don't just go with the flow. This is a major life transition. You want to ask God, what do you have for me? What am I supposed to be doing in my retirement? What steps am I supposed to take? You know, you connect to God, just like you connect to God for other areas of your life, for other things, other projects, other progress or advancement that you've made in life. It's the same way you prepare for retirement spiritually. And then there's a need for mental and psychological preparation. What do I mean by that? You are stopping work. First, for most people, they are at the peak of their career. They are MDs, they are management staff, senior management staff. You know, some have a lot of influence, a lot of, you know, authority. And then somebody is asking you to quit it all, leave it all. Mentally, how are you going to cope? Psychologically, does this mean that you are no longer relevant, that you are no longer useful to society, you are no longer useful to yourself? Is this the end of it all? You know, there are many psychological things that go on when retirement comes. So you need to prepare yourself that, yes, this is another phase of my life. I'm entering another phase. This is not the end of me, you know. You strengthen yourself psychologically. And then environmental and residential preparation. For most people, they might not be living in their own house. Maybe you because of your position, you have been given an official residence, so you've enjoyed that place for long, and then it comes time to retire, which means that you have to leave, you have to move out. Where are you moving to? Have you made preparations? Do you have your own house somewhere? Is it in good condition that you can move into it? Then where are you going to live? For some people, they have to take a decision. Am I staying in this city that I've worked all my life, or I want to retire to the village? I want to retire to another city. All those considerations have to be made. You have to consider the pros and cons and take a decision and then work out those decisions. Then emotional and family preparation. So What are your ties to the job? Maybe some people who have stayed in the same organization for long, they might have ties, they might have emotional attachments. You need to disengage psychologically from that. Then you need to prepare your family. So daddy has been going to work from 6 a.m. to maybe 10, 11 p.m. every day for 25, 30 years. Now daddy is going to be home all day. He's not going anywhere. How are you preparing your family for that? It might be funny, but you know, your presence in the house, whether you're a man or a woman, your presence in the house continually, you know, will change the chemistry of the family, will change the chemistry of the home. So you need to prepare for that. Because now you'll be home, you'll be seeing the things that you were not seeing before, the things that you would not see because you are out of the home for the better part of the day. You know, many things will be revealed when you are home like that. So you need to prepare for that. You need to prepare your family for that. You need to work out your interactions with the family. And then physically, your body, you need to exercise, you need to prepare your body because you have been active for so long, now you are at rest. How do you put your body in shape in such a way that that rest will not become an illness unto you? You need to work that out. You need to plan. You need to find out, what do I need to do that will keep me healthy? And then the medical and health preparations. In the evening of life, in the 60s and above, that is when, you know, the body is wearing out, is wearing down. It's, you know, like an engine that is old and is now, you know, winding down, sort of. So different kinds of illnesses come up. We thank God for the health that He has given us. We can live in good health, even in old age. But it is something that you have to be conscious of. It is something that you have to take steps about. It's not just, oh, I believe. What are you doing about your belief? Are you eating healthy? There are some things that you're not supposed to be eating at that age. Are you keeping away from them? Are you choosing the healthy alternatives? And then we come to the financial. Today we're talking about finance really because it's the Ministry of Finance, but I just needed to touch on all those things so that we know that retirement is money, yes, but there are also other things that, you know, money will not address. These are the other things that, you know, you have to also take care of apart from the financial aspect. So in financial preparation, I want to start with this. The 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, I already talked about that. God gave Egypt 7 years of plenty so that they would not die off in the 7 years of famine. I believe the years that we put in work, maybe 20, 25, 30 years, 35 years that we work, is also to help us take care of the 30 years or more that we're going to be at rest. When you have worked during the day, when the night comes, there must be something that you must retire to. And as God gave the Egyptians this plan, I believe He will give us also the plan that will work for us to ensure that our years of plenty will take care of the years that we don't have as much. And then Peter's coin in the fish's mouth. This is just to show that when Jesus and Peter needed to pay their taxes, God provided a coin in the mouth of a fish. How is that relevant to retirement? God will provide what you need when you need it. As Christians, I believe we would have experienced all these kinds of testimonies in our lives where, you know, just in time, God provides. So even in retirement, God does not change. He will continue to provide. He fed Elijah by the ravens. They brought bread to him and he was able to drink water from the brook. That was God's organization. That was God's provision. Same thing with this widow of Zarephath and her jug of oil and jar of flour. They did not finish until the famine ended. So she didn't have plenty. It was just those two containers were able to keep on providing and feeding her son, and the prophet. And then we come to Abraham's ram caught in the thicket. God provided a ram in place of Isaac for Abraham to sacrifice. So God is our source. The fear, part of the fear of retirement is, where am I going to get money from? How am I going to live? I want us to focus on the fact that God is our source. And there's even one that I didn't put here, the 5 loaves and 2 fish. God multiplied when there was a need. So even if it is little that you have, there's no need to panic. All you need is the blessing of God on that little. And you may not have plenty, but it will not run out, and you will meet all the needs that you have. So that aside, we also need to be stewards. We need to be diligent. We need to take our lives serious. So we won't use faith as an excuse to be sloppy or to be negligent. Many people start thinking of retirement when it's around the corner. Like I said before, time is of the essence. You don't want to do last-minute planning. It is always better to plan ahead, so you have more time to put money aside, more time to plan, so that it doesn't meet you unawares. It's like a man whose wife is pregnant, and then when she's now in labor, he starts running around, my wife is pregnant, give me a loan, No, you had time, you knew. So we all know that retirement is coming. The earlier we start planning for it, the better. So, like I said, if you wait till the last minute, there isn't much you can do financially. And this is why some people go stealing, last minute panic, they now start stealing money from their employers just to have a nest egg for retirement. That is not our portion. That is not what we would do as Christians. Planning should start from the first day of the first job, as early as possible, because you are starting this job as a young man. You know there is a day that will come that you won't have that job anymore. So you need to plan. You need to build a nest egg. And here I said, habits matter more than the amount. So if you are putting money aside for retirement, it's not so much how much you put aside, it's just a habit. Once you form the habit and you are consistent, excuse me, it will amount to something at the end of the day. Consistency, that habit pays off at the end of the day. So I listed some habits here. The habits that matter, the habits that count, is to start early. Start early. And if you have not started early, this is not a condemnation. Today is your first day, so you start today. The earlier you start, the better, but today is also a good day to start. Reinvest your yields. When you make money and you invest and you get yields, don't eat it up. Reinvest. That is how you get the advantage of compounding, and money can work for you because it is growing on its own. Then we need to practice delayed gratification. So even if you have money today, you shouldn't chop everything today. Deny yourself. Put something aside. Be prudent in your spending, in your saving, in your investing. Be prudent. Be wise. Be a giver, because there is a tendency to hoard everything, that I'm saving for retirement, I'm saving. You also need to be generous. You need to give. As freely as you have received, freely give. Don't hoard everything. Save reasonably, give reasonably. Little drops of water make up a mighty ocean. So you say, we're in Nigeria. The challenges of meeting today's immediate needs exist. How am I going to, I'm even still struggling to meet today's needs. How am I going to be saving for tomorrow? The economy is volatile. Government policies change every day. Maybe I was doing a business. Now the government policy has changed. It's not favoring me. I can't do that business again. I've invested so much. It is not working. Currency devaluation. Dollar is so much. Pounds is so much. All my money is like it's turning to paper. There are many challenges in this economy. But I want to urge us to just keep on sowing, keep on planting, keep on saving, because you don't know which one will yield at the end of the day. And like I said before also, God is our source. You can have ₦1 billion today and everything disappears because of change in policy, volatile economy, theft, robbery, anything can happen. So we are not focusing on the money itself. We are focusing on God, that is our source, and He will help us to be diligent in the way we handle our money. So there are some questions we need to ask ourselves. Do I have enough? That's talking about retirement now. Do I have enough for the regular essentials? That is my day-to-day upkeep. Do I have enough for the long haul? As in this day-to-day upkeep, if I have to continue for 30 years or more, do I have enough? Will it be enough? What I have, will it take me through? Have I set aside money for big bills? Big bills are expensive things that are one-off, maybe school fees for those who have school, who still have children in school at the point of retirement. Your children will be getting married, you have to bury parents, you know, such things are expensive, but they are one-off. So you can plan for it. You can put money aside for such things. Am I expecting a lump sum? What do I intend to do with this? Some companies pay gratuity apart from the pension. Even the pension, there is a lump sum that you get at the inception of your retirement. What do you plan to do with it? If you don't plan for that money, you end up just spending it on frivolity. So you need to plan. How am I going to keep this money? How am I going to ensure that it serves a good purpose? Are there other ways I can generate income? Do I have skills I can monetize? Because at the point of retirement, you have a lot of experience. I'm sure you have expertise in one area or the other. How can you monetize that? Can you monetize? Can you use your skills to earn more money? Can you engage in a new career or business? Maybe, okay, this career line has ended. Are you a business person? Are you an entrepreneur? Do you have skills for that? Can you start a business? Or maybe you've been running a business on the side before. Do you want to now expand it and focus on it? How can you improve your investment yields? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. And my recommendations, the first thing is to budget. You have to budget. Even if you have ₦1 billion for retirement, it pays to budget. Budget just means a plan. Have a plan on how you want to spend money. Itemize the expenses. What am I going to be spending money on? How much am I going to spend on those things? And you say no to unexpected expenses as much as you can. While you are still working, money is still coming in. So you can say, oh, this person asked me for money, you give. That one asked, you give. This one, that one, you know, like that. But in retirement, you now have to plan. It's not okay to say, I'm retired, I can't afford it. Spend what you earn or less than you earn. Don't spend what you don't have. Don't spend at the level you were spending when you were working. And then saving, you have to save. Saving is not just saving money, you save on expenses as well. You might want to reduce your living expenses because some of us have a verbose construction around us. You have household staff, maybe 2 house helps, 1 driver, 1 steward, 1 cook, you know, all of those things together. If you can afford it, fine, but it's worth looking at. Do you want to keep everybody on? And then you need to forego unnecessary indulgences. You are eating out, taking people, you know, going to the club and just, you know, for everybody, I'm paying for everybody, you know, you are just, you know, spending money as a big man or big woman. You need to be more efficient. You need to save on what you can. It's not constricting yourself, but just being prudent and a bit realistic about your financial position. And then investment. If you get a lump sum, look for good investments to put it in. Look for low and medium risk products, treasury bills, government bonds, or whatever. Some already have businesses that they are running that they can invest the money in. Avoid high risk products, MMM, people that will come and say, they will double, they will triple your money, bring it, you get 30% flat every month and things like that. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And then you want to spread your risk. You don't want to put all your money in one basket. You want to spread your risk. And then, like I said, be consistent in giving within your means. You can budget your giving and say, okay, every month I'm giving this much to so, and so. The general soul is enriched, it is blessed. And everyone who waters will be watered as well. So you want to, if you hoard, you are depriving yourself of blessings. So give generously, give according to your means, give what you can give. It might be small, but if you are consistent and you have a good heart towards the people you are giving to or the cause that you are giving towards, you reap the benefits. And then I want us to note some things. Like I said, spending has to be planned and deliberate. No room for spending to save face. Live within your means. I'm repeating this thing so that it can sink in. Spend below your income. There is an adjustment that you have to make from the time you are working and then the time you stop working. And you find that as you adjust yourself, it won't feel so bad. It won't be so painful. You adjust to it. It is a process. Save what you can, budget your giving, invest wisely, explore new avenues of income, because it's also exploring new avenues of income helps you to keep yourself busy as well. So you might start a new career, you might do a new business. It just helps to keep you busy so that your brain is still functioning optimally. And then on loans, don't take new loans because your capacity to pay back might be impaired. Don't give out loans. There's people that will come, oh, this person has retired. I'm sure they have a lump sum. They have some big money that they've been paid. Let me go and take a loan from my uncle or my auntie. Don't give out loans because such loans are usually difficult to get back. Pay off your existing loans. If you have a mortgage outstanding, you have other loans, it's best to pay off. Take care of loans so that you don't have anybody waiting on you for any money. So you can manage yourself when you know it's just you and your family. And then prepare yourself. Like I said before, for those living in official accommodation, you need to prepare your own house. If you don't have your own house, you need to find out which area is best for you to rent so that you have accommodation that you can live in. You have accommodation that you can afford. You have a car that is moving. If your car is not in good condition, when you get that lump sum, either you buy a new one, a fairly used one, or you spend money to put it in good condition so that it can run for a long time. And then you prepare your family. So how much have we been spending in this house? Am I going to reduce anything? You come to an agreement. These things need to be done so that you can be at peace. You don't want your retirement to be stressful. And then be careful, don't be scammed. Don't be scammed. When you get your lump sum or your pension or your gratuity, you are vulnerable for attack. People are watching you. People know that, oh, this person has come into some money. You need to safeguard your savings and investments. People will come with all kinds of business proposals for you to invest in. You need to do your due diligence. You need to be prudent. You need to be wise. You need to take it easy. And don't be greedy. Because if it's too good to be true, it is usually too good to be true. And then someone will come and say, okay, you can't give me a loan. Can you guarantee my loan? I want to take a loan from a bank. You know, with your experience and standing in society, if you guarantee my loan, the bank will give me the loan. Don't guarantee people's loans. It is unlikely that they will pay. And then you are not in a strong position. Maybe you've pledged your house, you've pledged your property or other assets. You don't want to lose them, especially in old age. So what are the usual sources and uses of money in retirement? The first one is the pension and gratuity. If I think most people in Nigeria today have a pension fund that they contribute to on a monthly basis. So when you retire, you probably get a lump sum and then you get pension payments every month. So that is your main source. Maybe you have yields on investments that you've done over time. You have your savings. And then children. I put question mark on the children because in the olden days, parents depended fully on children, said, I've spent money on you, I sent you to school. Now it is my turn to eat of my investment. That's one general, as the Yoruba will say. Nowadays, things are different. The children we raised today, they are not like us. So you want to consider whether you're going to be depending on your children for your income. If you don't have a choice, yes, hopefully, if you have maintained a good relationship with them over time, they will be willing and able to help you. But I would advise that you do not put that pressure of Anjewomo on the children. Sorry for those who do not understand Yoruba. It is about, eating the fruit of my labor because my children have invested in them. I now want to eat from them. The pressure that our parents and our parents' parents used to put on children, we cannot put on our own children today. So you need to be careful about that. I believe if you have a good working relationship with your children, they would not see you in need and leave you, like that. They would come to you, they will help. So those are the sources of income. One thing I didn't put here is maybe if you have a new business, a new career, then that will be a fresh source of income. And then the uses, what do you need money for in retirement? Daily upkeep, food, utilities, accommodation, transportation, household staff, and so on. Then healthcare, you need to take care of your health. You need to do regular checkups. In this country, we don't usually do regular checkups. It's necessary because when the body is aging, things can be malfunctioning. And some of these things don't show up unless you go and search for them. So, and the earlier you catch them, the better. So you need to spend some money. It might be a bit expensive, but you need to spend money on your health. And then if you're still sending children to school, children are getting married, you want to have a vacation, and then other ones that you feel would make you happy in your retirement, you put all those things into consideration as well in your budgeting and expectations. Now, insurance, I want us to also consider insurance. Insurance comes in here because it helps in a way. There are some areas where insurance can help. Like we all know, insurance is an arrangement by which a company undertakes to provide a guaranteed sum of compensation for specific losses, maybe health, death, illness, whatever. And then even your upkeep. If you pay a certain premium, then you are covered and then you can get the benefits of that insurance. I feel the insurances that are relevant to us in retirement is health insurance, life insurance, critical illness insurance, and annuity. So looking at it, the health insurance, we are familiar with that. That is what the HMOs offer. So you pay a premium, maybe monthly or yearly, and then you are covered. They have hospitals that they use. So you can go to those hospitals without having to pay anything. It helps if you come down with an illness, if you have insurance cover, because most of the cost of that health challenge will be borne by the HMO. You need to, however, understand your coverage. So when you are negotiating with them, understand all the fine print. Insurance usually has a lot of fine print. So get into discussions, understand specifically what is covered, what is not covered, so you know what you are paying for. And usually, the more the area of coverage, the higher the premium. But most of the time, it's best to have an insurance to cover your health. So it stops you from spending, because healthcare is expensive, especially if you use a private hospital. You tend to pay a lot for each hospital visit. And then life insurance. Life insurance pays both you and your beneficiaries. Well, you might say, oh, I would have died now, so it's really for my children. Why should I be putting money aside for them? It helps. because maybe you don't have enough to leave as an inheritance. It just helps to cushion the effect of your death. And then nowadays, we also have what is called burial expense coverage. So you can actually sign up for that so that your children are not killing themselves just because they want to do a burial for you. So you can build that into your life insurance, and they get a lump sum that they can use to offset at least some of the cost of the burial. And then critical illness. Critical illness is useful to pay hospital bills when a critical illness happens. These are things that we don't pray for. These are things that we don't hopefully want to have, but it helps that we have insurance to cover it. So you can sign up for that insurance, and it takes care of certain critical illnesses. Also, for this one, you have to know which illnesses are covered. So you discuss with your broker to be clear on which illnesses are covered so that you can get the benefits if anything happens. And then the annuity actually works like the pension. It's just that this is something you are doing on your own outside of the pension. So if you have a lump sum and you don't want to keep it, maybe you feel you will use it, you will spend it, you can sign up for annuity, which is that the insurance company takes that bulk amount and then they pay you a monthly amount for the rest of your life. They pay you, it's like an upkeep allowance, which they pay you based on the volume of the money that you give them, will determine how much you can get on a monthly basis, and they pay you for the rest of your life. So that kind of adds another alternative or option in addition to the pension that you'll be taking. So why do we insure? I say we insure because life happens. Life happens. We are not exempt from the difficulties of life. So sometimes things happen to us and we need insurance to kind of ameliorate whatever those things are. We believe in God. We believe that He will heal us. He will give us long life and health. Insurance does not preclude faith. So the fact that you are signing up for insurance doesn't mean you don't have faith. You have faith, but this is a product that can help you and give you real savings. So instead of spending, some people say, I will not be sick, I will not go to the hospital. But even if you are not sick, you should go to the hospital for a regular checkup. And for that, you need to pay something. Why do you want to pay from your pocket when insurance can take care of it? And then it also provides a cushion for our loved ones when we are gone, the burial expense cover, and then the life insurance, for which they get a bulk sum, which they can share amongst themselves. So other deliberate steps that we need to take in retirement, these are not financial steps, but they are good. It's for the all-round well-being of the individual. Plan for the use of your time, because you used to be very active, waking up early to go to work, and then you come back in the evening or in the night. Now you have all that time, 8-9 hours of the day to yourself with no activities planned. You need to make use of that time so that you don't go into depression, because the human mind is very funny. If you sit at home, the first 2-3 weeks you are resting, then after that, rest now becomes something else. What am I going to do with myself? Why am I even here? Thoughts start coming. So you want to keep yourself busy. You can volunteer your services. You have experience. You have expertise in areas. You can volunteer in church. You can be busy. Decide on which hobbies you want to pursue. The things that you wanted to do that you did not have time to do when you were working, this is the time to do them. And then set a timetable for yourself. Make it flexible. Just write out some things that you want to be doing every day, so that, there's a purpose. When you wake up in the morning, there's a purpose to the day. So you are not just waking up and because if you don't give yourself purpose for the day, you will find yourself just going down into depression and sadness. So you need activities to keep yourself occupied. And then activities outside the home. So you've been going out 5 days a week for 20, 25 years. You still need to go out. Otherwise, you won't feel okay. So Look for activities outside your home that you can do, maybe once a week, twice a week. And then aside from church, and you go to church on Sunday, maybe midweek service, maybe some other thing that you would do, some purpose that you can be pursuing. And then fix your mindset. Always put positive thoughts in your mind, because otherwise you will be thinking, I'm no longer useful. Nobody needs me. I'm just here. It's because I'm home that this one is happening. It's because I'm home that you are talking to me like that. It's because, so you need to occupy your mind with positive things. Give no place to regret. Of course, regrets will come. There are things you will remember. Oh, if I had done this. Oh, if I had taken that job. Oh, if I had invested this one. Oh, if I had saved that one. Oh, forget the regrets. Just tell yourself, I've finished that phase. This is a new phase. I'm entering this new phase with power, with zeal, with positive thoughts. I'm going to make the best use of this time. And then keep in touch with your friends and your loved ones. Read, walk, exercise, talk to someone every day. Keep busy. Don't be idle. There's a saying that the devil finds work for idle hands. Don't be idle. Keep busy. Keep interested in living. There's a company, I won't mention an international multinational company, that there's a record that when people retire from that organization, within 2-3 years, they're dead. Because the organization so pampers them that they're not prepared for real life outside of that organization. So you don't want to be like that. You want to prepare yourself. You want to be useful to yourself. You want to wake up every day with a purpose. Ask God for a purpose. What am I supposed to be doing in this retirement? And he will help you. And then I want to share some promises with us. Isaiah 46:4. It says, even to your old age, I am he. Even to the gray hairs, I will carry you. I have made and I will bear. Even I will carry and will deliver you. Psalm 92, verse 12-14. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bear fruit in old age. They shall be fresh and flourishing. Why am I saying these things? In this our society, nobody recognizes old age. Nobody reckons with old age. Once you are old, it's like, go and sit, Joe. It is this thing is for the young people. But God appreciates us. He will not leave us in our old age. We will be fresh and flourishing. We will bear fruit even in old age. Isaiah 40:31 says, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. We will walk and we will not faint. We are not going by our own strength. We are going in the strength of the Lord. Psalm 37, verse 25. I have been young and now I'm old. Yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his descendants begging bread. And I want to add one more, which I didn't put here. When Moses died, it was said of him that his natural force was not abated. He was still strong, 120 years old. He was still strong. He was still able. He was not living, a substandard life. We are the children of God, and he says he will carry us in our old age. So we have nothing to be afraid of. And it is not about how much money I have accumulated. It is how much of the blessing of God is in that money, whether it is 1 naira. If the blessing of the Lord is in it, then I will be taken from it and it will not dry up. My children will not be forsaken. They will not beg for bread. I myself, in my old age, I will not be forsaken. Thank you. God bless you. Over to you, Ola.
Yeah, your screen is still on.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kike. Listening to you, I'm not even sure there will be questions, but let me encourage everyone to please put up your questions in the chat section of the meeting. It was very detailed, self-explanatory. But then if you have any questions, please put them up. I think Pastor Kike did a great job simplifying anything. But if you still want to get details of the things that were simplified, please put up your questions so that we can ask her as we go. So from what Pastor Kike has said to us this morning, I see that the emphasis is that retirement does not mean you will have a substandard life. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
And retirement is not redundancy. You can do something new, start something new, invest all over again. Because when she mentioned emotions and family, I was really concerned about it. I said, I even put up a question. I said, how do we manage this period of when you have to sit home more frequently? Is it really compulsory that you will be home? Because I know some old people that they are still never at home. And anytime you see them at home, you know they're probably not well, you know, so they work and they still find a way to find something in maybe a business that they've established. They keep going to the office of that business, even if they're not primarily doing the operations. They just still show up there, check the books, have short meetings, have lunch. You know, recently I met a couple. The husband is, I think, 85 or 87. His wife is 83. One person doesn't hear very well, one person doesn't see very well. So they are co-pilots when they're driving each other. But when you speak to them, their week is occupied. They will tell you, we are doing this on Monday, we have this appointment on Tuesday. So basically, you need to call them for them to create time in their week for you. So retirement is not redundancy. Thank you so much, Pastor Kike.
Yeah, I think there's a hand up.
Okay. Please, can you put your questions down? We're going to ask later. We won't take it immediately. The questions in the chat room won't be immediate. So if you put your questions down in the chat section, we'll go back to it just before we round off. We have to have the other two speakers come up. So we'll come back to your questions. Just please take note of them and put them in the chat room because we'll only attend to them from the chat room. Thank you so much, Pastor Kike, once again. And then we hope to have you back on soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So in continuing our conversation today with the Ministry of Finance, we still have topics we need to address, streams of income, retirement again, because we still want to see maybe the practical tools to actually doing this retirement. We know that, yeah, we can do things, we can invest, but now we want to see practical tools in which we can push retirement and push it to non-redundancy. And then we'll be talking about assets and investment management, because when you have invested your money, you still need professionals. Today we have a panel.
Hello, Ola.
Yes, sir.
Ola.
Yes,
How
sir.
come we can't see you? We can't see your video.
You can't? And I can see
cannot.
myself very well.
I can see her though.
We can see her.
Okay, I can't see her.
I can see myself. So
But I want to make sure we're able to see the other speakers when they are talking.
Oh yeah, because we saw Pastor Kike while she spoke.
Yeah, but we've not,
and my video is currently on. Maybe you need to restart your system again.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
So we have a very seasoned investment manager that is coming up very soon, Mr. Abraham Okunsoya. He's the founder of Timeline. It's a financial technology company that manages over 600 million pounds for its clients. It's the next generation retirement income software that is used by financial advisors and institutions. He's a chartered financial planner. He's a chartered wealth manager. What else? He's very seasoned, and he has written a book, Beyond the 4% Rule. He's also a member of the Chartered Institute of Chartered Insurance Institute, the Personal Finance Society, the Financial Conduct Authority, the Association of British Insurers, and the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investments. So he holds a lot of conferences, and he's a veteran in investment management. So please be very expectant. This is going to be a rich presentation. Mr. Abraham, do we have you on? Yeah, thank you. We see you here. We're very expectant. Thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring our invitation. We would have questions later from the group. The questions that will be dropped in the chat group. So please, we hand over our mic to you. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Thank you, Ola. When you were, when you were reading all that proof, I don't know where you got it from. I'm thinking she's either introducing a wrong speaker or you all are in the wrong Zoom room, right? Thank you for that. The only thing you forgot to mention is my Nobel Prize.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. All right, look, good morning, and it's an honor to be here and to share some thoughts with you. Pastor Kukponi has already done a brilliant job, actually, that I don't feel that there is a lot for me to say. I will just, if you like, maybe add a little bit more detail to the brilliant work that she's done. Yep. I like it when she said, I'm going to share my screen, and I don't have, a lot to, in terms of slide. Now, I like, when she said, retirement is inevitable. I like that. In other words, you either do it voluntarily or it is forced upon you. So you either plan and prepare and do it voluntarily, or at some point they push you out of the door, your body forces you to retire, your employer forces you to retire. That's actually technically illegal in the UK, but somehow retirement happens, right? And as a matter of fact, 40% of people, so 4 out of 10 people who retire do so out of their own will. Here, this starts, so and very, very similar to what you have in the US. I'm sorry, I don't know the stats for Nigeria because it probably doesn't exist. So my point is that she's right. It's inevitable. And I can tell you this, 100% of retirement end in fatality, right? At some point, whether you like it or not, we're all going to die and move on. And I know that, we're Christian, our spirits live on, we live on in the world beyond, but that's the basic principle. Now, the thing is to bear in mind that if you are retiring, when you're retiring, you really need to think about this thing called longevity, right? If you retire at 65, which is the technical retirement age in the UK, although, they keep moving the goalpost. So as a matter of fact, I doubt that there will be anybody on this call, unless you're in your 60s, I doubt there will be anybody on this call that would, technically retire, technically be eligible for retirement benefit, at 65, because that age gets pushed back ever so consistently, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that if you retire at 65, you have average life expectancy of around 25 years more to live. That's on average, if you're an average person. So if you put 100 people in the room, 50 of them will reach that age of 90, right? And beyond. The other 50 would die before that age of, before that age of 50. So on average, I know clearly the data, life expectancy in Nigeria is shorter, but we're still talking about decades, So if someone retires at 60 in Nigeria, they could still be around at 80. So they need to fund 20, 30 years of expenditure from their retirement plan. So the retirement plan needs to be formidable, needs to have a solid foundation. Otherwise, the problem is that you run out of money. There is no hard and fast rule about it. And of course, I saw this. I like cartoons, right? I this one says, you can afford to retire at 65, but you would have to die. You would have to die at 70 because you don't have money to last you behind that. I was looking at other cartoons. Another one I found said something along the lines of, well, first I retired, and then the golden watch they gave me stopped working. I retired, and then my dishwasher retired, and the car retired, and then other things retired. And if you look around you, you will find people like this. You would find people who, when they were working, they were senior, they were the, as we will say, they were the ogas in their work and all these things. And then they retired, and gradually things stopped working. Again, if it's done out of choice, like if they downgraded to a smaller house because the kids are grown up, that's fine. There's nothing to be ashamed about that. If they downgraded to a smaller car because they don't need all that flash anymore, that's fine. The bit I'm talking about is when things just gradually dilapidate and they fade away. And I think Mrs. Kukboni talked on something really important earlier when she said, all these people who are stealing, especially in government, who are stealing money, you know what they're doing? They are still, there's no justification for it, but they're stealing this money, because of their fear of irrelevance, of course, of greed, because of greed, but fear of irrelevance when they leave, paid employment, government employment, that's essentially why. So that option is not available to us because it's illegal. Therefore, for us, it's really, really important that we take our retirement planning seriously, that we have a formidable plan around retirement, because it's inevitable. And I just want to leave you with four I call them, think of your retirement as a four-legged stool, right? It's stable, it's fine. If one leg breaks, you can still sit on it. Now, I don't want, there's no need to take this to the extreme, to take that metaphor to the extreme. All I'm trying to say is have a diversified way of thinking about approaching your retirement. So the first one is pensions, right? So in Nigeria, this is law, Pension Act of 2014 means that if you're working for an employer, there is 18% of your earnings, 18% of your salary that goes into an RSA, retirement savings account. Now, I am amazed by how many people, my Nigerian friends and family that don't pay a lot of attention to this. I mean, think about somebody taking a fifth of your income every single month and putting it in a retirement account. That money has to be invested. I once looked at this act, and I don't like some of the rules around how the Nigerian government wants this money to be invested. Much of it has to be invested in Nigerian government bonds. Very little is allowed in the stock market. At the time, nothing was allowed internationally. I heard they were changing it. I haven't followed it through. Look, the choice is out of your hand. The fundamental thing is that your employer is going to pay 10% of your salary into the pension scheme, and you are pay 8%. It's law, it's compulsory, but that money is going to be there, right? So your job is to make sure you understand it, make sure you engage with what's done with that money, right? And the money has to be held with a third party. If your employer doesn't remit the money, there are fines and all that stuff. So actually, it's pretty, I don't want to use the word secure because hell, nothing is secured, or guaranteed, especially in Nigeria. But my point is that make sure you pay attention to how much is that money. They should send you a statement once or twice a year. That statement should give you an indication of how much you've contributed so far, what is the growth in that. And there's a problem coming. If you move employment during your working life, you're going to end up with 3, 4, 5 RSAs during your working life. As a matter of fact, my mom, my mother-in-law, she retired a few years ago, and then she looked at the RSA, and basically you have 2 options when you come to retire. So you would be allowed to draw a quarter of the fund, so 25% of the fund as a lump sum, which is what used to be called gratuity, right? And then the rest of the money, you would have 2 options with it: either buy an annuity, right? So you hand over that money to an insurance company, and they in return pay you about 5%, broadly speaking, of the money every single month. They're supposed to pay it until you die. So you can buy an annuity, or you can go into a systematic withdrawal. So in other words, again, you withdraw, broadly speaking, 4 to 5% of the money on an annual basis. And again, the idea is that the money should last around 20 years if you do it that way. So that's essentially the basics around pensions. I don't, there are, of course, I think all Nigerian pension schemes been moved to this, right? So as far as I'm aware, you no longer have, what is it called? Traditional pensions that, if you're working now, if you're in your working life, still working, you no longer have traditional pensions where it's the government paying you. Everybody's been moved into that, RSA, system. Of course, people who are retired already, they're still having to depend directly on the government for their pension. Very quickly, in the UK, it's very similar. Apart from, you will have a state pension that is offered by the UK government, and to the extent that you've contributed national insurance for 30 years. 30 years, yes. I can hear people in Nigeria say 30 years, you have to contribute for 30 years. But as long as you've done that, you'll be eligible for the full state pension. It's around £9,000 a year, and it starts. You can go online actually and see when your state pension entitlement starts. So you put your age and and it will give you the date. Typically, if you're in your 50s, you're probably looking at 67. If you're in your 40s, you're looking at 68, maybe longer. And the idea is that money will be paid from that point onward for the rest of your life. Now, there are all sorts of complications, if you have, and this is important for us. Nobody talks about this, right? That if you are if you worked in the UK and then you retired in Nigeria, there are some complications in terms of, because the payments that meant to be going up with inflation every year, there are some complications as to whether that actually happens. But that's only if you tell the UK government that you're not in Nigeria, so that you're no longer in the UK during your retirement. So just be mindful of this. This is all about awareness. We can't cover all these things, but we need to be aware of what's going on. On the work side, of course, we have a pension scheme as well in the UK. So your employer is required to contribute a minimum of 5%, and you're required to contribute a minimum of 3%, making 8%. But as I said earlier on, you really need to have, broadly speaking, 10 to 15% of your income going into retirement, going towards retirement. The older you are, the more you need to put in, and the less you've done in the past, during your early working age, the more you have to be doing. So if you didn't save into a retirement plan in your 30s and 40s, when you're in your 50s, you probably need to be contributing 20% of your salary just to have meaningful amount in there. So that's pensions. Investments should really be easy, but it's not. Now, when I say investment, I am really talking about the stock market, right? Now, I am talking about the global stock market. We're on this call because, some companies made it possible. Apple, who created the computer I'm using, Zoom, who created this mode of channel, Microsoft, all these companies, it's really easy, right, for anyone to invest in these companies. You just simply buy a mutual fund, contribute into a mutual fund, a globally diversified mutual fund. So you don't have to worry about picking the stocks or deciding where it should go. It just goes into a mutual fund, and that money is invested and it compounds over the long run. So look for a low cost mutual funds. Some of the ones that we use for our clients are provided by firms like Vanguard, BlackRock, there are HSBC, Legal and General. There are others there. Now, I can hear people in Nigeria saying, well, but this is not relevant to us. It is. I actually, mostly 10 years ago now, I and Elder Dikpo, we went to Nigeria. We wanted to set up a system. We set up a system that allowed, people in Nigeria to invest internationally in globally diversified mutual fund. And we took the offering to Nigeria and we beat the doors out, trying to get people to understand it. When we did that, 1 naira was $1 was 180 naira, something like that. And every time I have that conversation, I say, if only people listen to us, just the currency, forget investment growth, just the currency exchange. I know this sounds really terrible that, you don't believe in Nigeria. You ask, this is what people were saying. You're asking us to put money, internationally and all that stuff. We want to invest it here in Nigeria. Well, knock yourselves out. Well, your pension's already invested in Nigeria. So if you want to keep your investment there are mutual funds in Nigeria. There's ARM and all these people that you can invest with. Remember, all I am talking about is diversification. I'm talking about a system that is least likely to fail. So if one leg of the tool fails, there are 3 other legs standing. So that's the way I'm approaching this. But mutual fund, globally diversified, low cost, doesn't require you to watch the stock market, doesn't require, just put it there. The investment manager would decide where it should go, but as long as it's low cost, it's globally diversified, and this is long-term investment. You're not going in and out of the market or trading or doing anything, frankly, crazy like that. That is a formidable long-term investment. Of course, real estate is another one, right? Having properties that will provide some sort of income in the long run is a formidable way of thinking about investment. Again, I wouldn't do it at the expense of those 2 things at the top. So, people say my property is my pension. No, that's not what we're saying here. This is, if you have resources in addition to, what goes into the pensions and the investment. And again, the investment, you don't need huge amounts of money. We do these things, £100 a month, or, I don't know what I'm trying to, 70,000, 100,000 naira a month. I think ARM and all these organizations, they have, plans that you can just put small amounts of money in on a regular basis and it compounds. But if you have, big lump sums, then there is a case for considering, property investments. It's much easier in the UK. Again, I looked at this. We tried to do this in Nigeria, and it's very, very complicated. Somebody's going to sell you land. You don't know what they're going to do. So maybe just my ignorance, but people do it. As a matter of fact, one of my uncles texted me 4 a.m. in the morning and said to me, Abraham, I am frustrated. Jide, that's what he says. I am really concerned. He's doing this at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? And he says, I'm really concerned about the direction of travel of our country. And so therefore I'm going to sell. I'm thinking about selling one of my property, I think in Abuja, and I want to buy a property in the UK. Now my point, what I'm trying to say is that he had the foresight 20 years ago to have a property, to buy property in Abuja, and of course, the rest is history. It's a lot of money when he told me. My point is that have foresight, do it properly. If you're going to have properties, think about using an estate agent and things like that to manage it. Again, when I was younger, I see our grandparents essentially worrying about, whether the tenant's going to make the rent and all these things. It gave them a lot of anxieties. So think about this properly. On its own, I don't believe that just having, properties or one property is, because you want to reduce anxiety. In retirement, the older you get, the less your mental capacity. This is known. As a matter of fact, from age 65, your mental capacity declines by about 1% a year. So you want to do this as effectively as possible and have a proper legal structure around it in a way that doesn't give you, heart attack. The other thing I should just, I mean, in the UK, it's really easy if you have the lump sum, so, say a property is worth 300,000, you generally need 20 to 25% of the money as deposit. So we did one, and it's like, I cannot believe this. This is just crazy, right? So you put down the deposit. Of course, you get a mortgage, and it's usually an interest-only mortgage for the rest. The mortgage is something like, I don't know, £420 a month. The monthly rent is 1,300, right? This is the problem with this country, that we're not building enough houses. And so the housing stock that's available is actually quite, you have, and it creates a problem, right? It's a chicken and egg situation. You have all these young people who cannot afford to get on the property ladder and all that stuff. The other point I would say is that actually, if your home, this is only relevant for UK people, if your home is the only one property you have, is still potentially a formidable, source of income in retirement. So you have this thing called, lifetime mortgages or equity release. So what happens is, say you've paid off your mortgage over a 20-year period, right? And then, you have a pension, you have investment, and then in the later life, say, typically people do this in their 70s, late 70s or 80s, and then the property is paid off. So you do the opposite of what you've done during your working life. So again, don't go crazy about this, but the idea is, say the property is worth 300,000, and you say, well, we're going to draw down 100,000 of the property in, as gradually as living expenses. And then, so that means you create a debt over time, you create a debt on the property, and when you eventually pass on, then the property is sold, the debt is repaid, and your family, your children get the rest. And then, people are so emotional about this. They say, oh, we're not going to leave anything for the children. Well, if you've given them good education, right, and a good start in life, well, then at some point you need to worry more about yourself and less about the children. But again, if you can, you transfer wealth to the next generation. And then I would say business consultancy. Look, just as Mrs. Kuponi said, just because you retired doesn't mean you are, worthless. You have skills, you have connections, that you can exploit. I mean, when I talk to, my friends here, Elder Dikpo, he has friends, there's this gentleman that he talks about who used to work, I think it's First Bank, he used to be quite senior. And this guy is retired now, but he's a connector. He will introduce one person to one person and they will do deals and he gets a cut. So just because you retired doesn't mean that you no longer have skills. There are non-executive director opportunities. We're talking to one in our business, somebody who's just, retired, sold their business, but they're valuable, they know something. And you know what we did? We will go to them and say, well, look, can you sit on our board? 4 days, this is crazy, 4 days a year is what we need you for. Of course, we'll call you for questions, ideas, advice. We're going to pay you £25,000 for 4 days a year. It's like, so my point is that those kind of opportunities exist. And if you've built a formidable career, you've built connection, and it's a great way to keep active in retirement as well. So those are the essentially how I would think and approach retirement planning, strictly, of course, from a financial point of view. Anyway, I hope that helps. I'm happy to take any questions or comments or criticism. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abraham. It was a rich session, trying to take us through how we can manage retirement again. But then there are a few questions. You said something about a global investment mutual fund. Can you kind of detail on that so we see if it's an opportunity that some of us can key into? Because you said you brought it to Nigeria, but you didn't mention if you have a system that is still running that, or it's something that was just a one-off and the response wasn't right. But maybe if you enlighten us here on this platform about that.
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
we're trying to do then no longer exists. I don't know. This is the truth. I haven't looked at, somebody in Nigeria. I haven't looked at how someone in Nigeria can invest internationally. But I would say this, that the good bank, right? So Elder Yinka is saying that you definitely can, right? I know that especially the internationalized banks, the chartered, what do you call them, the Standard Chartered of this world, they have mutual fund packages for their clients, to invest internationally. The only thing I would say is just watch the charges, on these things. So it's essentially a mutual fund, and make sure, of course, that this has to be done through proper channels. It can't be that you're just handling your money to somebody and not knowing what they're going to do with it. Usually the organization managing the mutual funds are formidable, globally known names, so I'm talking the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the HSBC of this world. And essentially you will contribute on a regular basis or put in lump sums into the mutual fund. You will be buying units in the fund, and then the fund aggregates other people's money and then invest in stocks and shares globally. So it's really, sorry, it's a really simple mechanism. But again, if you're doing this, in the UK, you go to, Hargreaves Lansdown or Vanguard, you open an account. I mean, you can set it up with as little as £100 a month and just keep contributing into it. I have to say, I haven't been closed. I haven't done any, been involved in doing this for anyone from Nigeria recently, but I think Uncle Yinka will be able to
Yeah, I can see that in the comment
shed
section,
more light
saying
on
we
it.
definitely, Mr. Yinka is saying we definitely need to meet with you on the globalization of the portfolio. So we hope that through this channel, we'll be able to organize that, maybe share what the requisites are with members or interested people, since it's seen as an opportunity to invest towards retirement, because that's what we're talking about now. One other question I would like to ask is, what streams of income can you highlight as suggestive for people to engage in, and towards retirement, or even now in their working years, streams of income that we could explore? Because that's one of our topics in this meeting, which is the Ministry of Finance. I'm sure that I speak for everyone if I say that we would like to all hear that, because yes, it's one thing to say you're planning towards retirement, is another thing to say you want to invest, but what do you plan? What do you invest? It has to be there. So how do you make it first before you begin to invest it or plan around it? So if you can give us some.
It's a difficult one. I am not, I'm not an expert in creating multiple streams of income. And to be honest, I can mostly only talk perhaps from, personal experience and observing people. But I don't think that there is a formula, right,
Mhm.
in terms of creating, streams of income. The way I think about this is that fundamentally, most of us start off with a job, right? And
Okay.
so, therefore, one stream of income is this thing called getting a job, right? That's the first one. And negotiating as you go down the career ladder, negotiating as much pay as you can over time. I am amazed by the number of people who don't negotiate pay when they get offered a job. And my wife Fumi is a prime example of this. We've talked about this before, where recently she got a job, and they called her when she'd done the interview, and they said, we're going to give you the job, blah, blah, blah. This is the salary, all that stuff. And she just said, okay. And she put the phone down and she said, I got the job. I said, good. And she said, this is the salary. And I said, and you accepted, right? You didn't say, it's crazy. You didn't say, no, can I have a little bit more? And I tell you this as somebody who employ people, we must, I don't know what the numbers are today, we probably have nearly 30 people in our organization. When we offer an employment contract or an employment offer, we don't give our first pay, right? So my point is that, and you know what, after we've had this conversation, she's now been on the job, I think 9 months, and when she got into the organization, she found the pay band, and you could drive a truck through what the lowest pay band and the highest pay range for that job is, right? And, kudos to her, 9 months, 8 months into the organization, she went back to them and she said, well, not to say I'm going to leave, but unless you do something about this pay. They said to her, you haven't been in this job for a year. They said, you haven't been in this job for They said, we agree that you should be bumped up, but you haven't been in this job for a year. So therefore we can't do anything. I said, push. Say to them, you're going to start looking, right? Again, maybe you can't do this in Nigeria, you get fired. In the UK, legally, you cannot get fired, right? I said, push. And, she did. And she came back with something like $5,000 worth of pay increase. My point is, just because you've been in an organization for donkey's years and you haven't got a meaningful pay rise, doesn't mean that you can't go back and negotiate and, prove, have a list of your value add to the organization and get yourself a bigger pay. So my point is, I will start there, right? Bigger pay is where I will start. Of course, we can go back to all the things that these things are applicable in working life as well. Consultancy, again, depends on your level of expertise and skill. Consultancy, consultancy, non-exec, director, board type level engagement, you can earn pretty decent amounts of money. Again, it shouldn't be a distraction from your core job or your core source of income. Many people on this call will be self-employed, as I am as well. For me, self-employment really is about trying to build a business that will be worth something. I know, Ola, that you're a business person that will be worth something and that you can sell on. Mr. Fashi is a lawyer. So it's about building a business, and hopefully that business is worth something, at the end of the day, that you can sell on. So as a self-employed person, you get to, if you structure it properly, hit your cake and have it. So you have a stream of income during your working life, and you build value and capital value in the business so that you can sell it on, to other people. And it's really about putting structures in place and making sure that the way I think of it is you're gradually making yourself redundant. I remember when I started our business, I did everything. I was the CEO, tea maker, cleaner, coffee drinker, and you gradually replace yourself by, as the business grows, by bringing people into the organization. And I mean, last night a client sent me a message, and it was quite rude, right? It sent a message to one of my team members and copied me in. And it was quite rude on the message. So I went back to him and I said, that's unacceptable, don't say that. And then he came back with more questions. And I was angry. And I wanted to reply, and I would have said things that I didn't like. But something said to me, Abraham, you have people. You have people whose job are supposed to do this. The whole point is to extract yourself from doing these things. So I left it, for them to deal with. That's how I just think about, self-employment and building a business. What's the other thing? The final thing I wanted to talk about, I have forgotten now. But a portfolio career. People talk about portfolio careers, freelance. I mean, these days, if you want to go crazy, Uber driver, things that you can do alongside the day job. There are many of them. Freelance, everything, right? What is it that they're calling the economy that we are in today? Freelance everything. Freelance designer, web designer, freelance, consultant, freelance everything. So the opportunity abounds, especially on the World Wide Web. There are all these websites. Even we sometimes, when we're looking for, say, somebody for a short period of time or to do things that we don't want to spend time doing internally, there is all these websites that you can either post your CV for others to find you, or if you have a job that you're looking for a particular expertise, go there to search. And there are very, very credible people on there. So we've used this before. So I'll find the name. I'll remember the name of the website. But my point is that opportunity abounds. I don't think that there is a hard and fast rule. And there are people for whom having multiple streams of income and portfolio career just doesn't work. They just want to get on with their lives and their career. And, as long as you don't make yourself overly dependent on an employer, in a way that becomes risky. So you need to always be in a position where, if you lost your job, you can pick yourself up and run, right?
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. Thank you so much. There's just one last thing I think we should try to look into. Looking at your profile, I see that you manage investments. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. So, quick one, what kinds of investments, and can you just give us an overview on how you go about that? Maybe if people here have or want to acquire, they would also, maybe come to you for advice. But I think we on this platform would like to even have an insight to investments and how to manage them.
So we have what you will call in the UK a discretionary investment manager, and as a business is a regulated business by the FCA. So essentially what we do, so we don't actually go directly to the end consumer. So we work with a network of financial advisors, and they use our technology to plan for people's retirement. So typically, again, in the UK, the top 10% of wealth in this country have enough wealth that they need somebody else to manage their wealth. Now, it's not huge amounts of money, right? To be in the top 10% of wealth in the UK, you probably just need, I don't know, £500,000 of wealth. That includes savings in your, that includes, you know, your pension portfolio that you've accumulated through work. That includes the value, net value from your property, excluding mortgage. So what we see generally is that, you know, this network of financial advisors use our technology to plan their clients' retirement. It's very detailed plan, right? And you can do that, right? Because so they're saying, how old are you today? How much money do you have? Where is the money seated? You know, when do you want to retire? What would you get? They go through income and expenditure. What would you get in state pension? What would you get in work pension? And what do you want to do with your life? So we have goal settings as part of this technology that would say, you know, we want to travel, we want to pay for our children's wedding. They will cost all the expenditure, you know, throughout your life. You know, if you were to go into care at age, you know, Ms. Kupolu was talking about later life and healthcare. You know, it says if you were to go into care at later life, what do you need, right? You know, and so it's really about, you know, liability matching. What is the stream of income that you have, you know, between now and your retirement? What are the expenditure that we have, and what assets do you need to match those expenditure? So they use technology to do that. Invariably, most people will come up with needing to invest their capital. So, you know, it might be money that they've accumulated in their own investment that they've managed and built up. It might be money in their work pension that they need to move out of work pension for a financial advisor to manage. But typically we see around 300,000 of liquid assets that then they want to invest. And so we have, you know, a portfolio management, investment management service to help them invest that money. Now, everything we do is exactly the same thing I have just told you. So we invest those clients' money in a globally diversified portfolio of low-cost mutual funds. That's what we do. That's what I have in my portfolio. That's what I have in my children's portfolio. That's what we've just been talking about. Of course, because we're not even big in the scheme of things, right? In the context of UK financial service, I mean, that business only been going, you know, for 2 years. The software business has been going for longer. But my point is that in the scheme of things, you know, we're tiny. This is the 1.5 trillion pounds market, right? So, and we manage now, you know, nearly 700 million of it. So we're just getting started. But my point is, of course, we can negotiate discounts. We can do it a little bit more effectively for the client and take the burden off them. But it's the same investment that you will buy through Vanguard or BlackRock or, you know, all these people. So it's the same. We use exactly the same principle, i.e. low cost, globally diversified. Don't put your eggs in one basket, and do it as, you know, as effectively as possible. You're on mute, Ola.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Abraham. Thank you. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat room so that we could, at the end of the session, still put it to him. We thank you for the enlightening information. If we have any further questions, we'll come back to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and being here on this platform. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to our last but not the least, our host, Pastor Yinka Olayinka Obikoye. Good morning, sir. We have to recheck
Good morning.
that is still
Good
morning,
morning.
because we've had a very rich, long morning. So Pastor Yinka is a banker of 2 decades of experience in treasury, in commercial, in retail banking, and the public sector. He's an honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. He's a fellow of the Institute of the Chartered Economists. He's a fellow in the Association of Business Specialists and Entrepreneurs. And he's also an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Marketing, Nigeria. He is currently the Assistant General Manager with Polaris Bank, and he heads the Northeast for the bank. So we're expecting some grand information from him. Today, Pastor Yinka is going to be speaking about indebtedness, and he's going to be speaking about gaming and betting, and finally, how to weave all this to our kingdom purpose and direction. So let's sit back, let's listen to him, because we're going to have a good session. So Pastor Yinka, over to you. Thank you.
All right. Hola, good morning. Good morning, everyone. The pastor title is still what we are battling. I'm sure someone like Scala will be laughing that, but this boy no be pastor. Let me start by thanking Pastor Kicks and Pastor Abraham. I'm sure he will laugh on that. For the time, very enriching sessions that we have had on retirement and portfolio management and a lot of things. Abraham tried to, I can call you Jide, right? How come I think Jide is your first name? Am I right?
Jide
Yes,
is
absolutely.
first
You
name.
can.
Oh, yeah, Jide. I know you are trying as much as possible not to sell your business, but you can't escape us, because at the rate at which things are happening in Nigeria, we need, when I wrote that we need to globalize our portfolio, it is getting to that stage. I met with someone recently at the main convention, and he told me, I mean, from his own facts, that we have about 16 billion naira equivalent of dollars that people are just keeping idle because of the way the naira is going, is sliding down. We definitely will need you to guide us. How can we have some portfolio? How can we have some investments that are not strictly Nigerian? And Pastor Kike, I think I'm ready to retire now with what you have told us. Some quick confessions. I've been told to talk on indebtedness, and the first thing I don't know is, should I be talking about don't borrow or borrow? Because I am a banker, and the core of my job is to go out every day, aside from looking for money, is to look for how I can get you to borrow, how I can get you into debt. And so I will, for the sake of preserving my job, be making sure that I definitely will not be seeing debt as a sin or as a no-go area. So a quick confession. Personally, I've also benefited from loans. I've, in the course of my job, had opportunities that I've been given that I have taken in terms of getting into loans and paying back. How do we put the what do you call it? How do we differentiate an onigbese? Apologies to those that don't speak Yoruba, from oluyawo. Some people are professional debtors. We call them onigbese. When you see them, you are dodging them. And some people borrow for business and all of those stuff. These are some of the things we are going to try and discuss. Another quick confession. I have not written a book like Pastor Kike and Jide, but at least I have a retirement plan now. I would be writing a book at retirement. So look out for it and help my ministry so that I can become a big boy from that financial outlay. Yes, debt is real. The needs for money is there. Several people have developed medical conditions from indebtedness. We have a friend, I'm not sure she's on this call today, who said she lost her peace at some point whenever she sees a particular person, only for our dear brother Kayode to say, okay, there is now a witch to deal with. But eventually he saw that the peace was lost because the person was owing the person something. So debt can make you lose your peace, can affect your medical conditions and everything. And sadly, despite the fact that we say Jehovah Jireh is there, some of us have mastered the art of dangerous sowing. A lot of people, despite dangerous sowing and a lot of other things, are still very much in deep financial mess and indebtedness. There is no stigma. There is nothing wrong with borrowing. There is nothing wrong with owing. But there is a lot wrong when the intention is not to pay back, or when the intention is to just take those decisions carelessly. So I'm going to be going through in another 12 minutes my thoughts. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on indebtedness and everything. A lot of our people have already given us more than enough to chew. So what is debt, as it is called? By the way, pardon me, I'm a Nigerian boy. Is it debt or debt? Whatever way it is pronounced, at least know that it is a yawo and all those stuff. So debt is anything by one person or is anything owed by one person or organization to another. It can involve property, money, services. And even we have this maxim that says a promise is a debt. So when you are talking about debt, it's as if you have taken something from one person for which you have an obligation to pay back or to reciprocate. So the person that owes simply is called a debtor. We may use the word debtor interchangeably with borrower today, so that in case I say borrower, you also get to know what that is. But we are told to concentrate more on financial debt. Financial debt is money you borrow and you have to pay back. It is called loan. It is also called loan. A person's financial, and one poser, a person's financial net worth is oftentimes measured by the amount he or she can borrow. What do I mean by that? You are seen as wealthy. You are seen as rich. You are seen as creditworthy to the tune of how much you can borrow. Imagine a Dangote coming to you today and say, please borrow me 20,000 naira. It will be ridiculous, as it were. But if he says, I need 1 trillion, that looks more like it. But if I come now and say, okay, please, I want to borrow 1 billion naira. Despite that, the fact that you want to see me as a man of faith or whatever, you start trying to assess whether I am worth 1 billion or not. So the positive side of indebtedness or debt is that your net worth, if you want to know how much you are worth, go and ask people, how much can you borrow me? Whatever amount you see anybody says they can give to you, that's the extent of how much worth that you truly have. So if I go to Ola now, I say, Ola, you know what, please, I need you to borrow me 100 million. And after praying with me and everything, she said, look, I can help you with 10,000 naira. That's how much she has assessed me that this man, no matter what, at least that's what he will be able to pay back in terms of capacity. So creditworthiness is the amount to which you can be trusted or assessed to be able to repay. So is debt or borrowing good or biblical? It's one area I would have, it's a topic for another day. But looking through the Bible and reading on various other journals, it's a yes or it's not a yes or no answer. There is nowhere the Bible explicitly said that if you borrow or if you are in debt, that you are going to hell. So I will not say a yes or a no. It will depend on you in particular. But definitely, like I said earlier, based on what I do, I don't see any reason why, you cannot borrow. But the way, when it becomes another issue, that's when we need to start looking at what is right or not. So many examples and scriptures abound. In fact, in the year of Jubilee, if you are a debtor, it is written off. We've had story about how one man was owing, he was forgiven. He went to those other people owing him, and then so there is a lot of example in the Bible about debt, and in all of it, it did not say that it is a sin. So I would also align with that there is nothing wrong with borrowing or being in debt. So, but the purpose determines where you stand. What are you borrowing for? So a quick one, why do people borrow or get into debt? For various reasons. Some people borrow to meet urgent or immediate needs or wants. Emphasis on the need and want. Some people borrow because there are urgent needs to be met, and sincerely, they have to look for something at that point in time, which they will be able to repay. Others borrow for want. They just want to be, iPhone 13 Pro Max is coming out, and we must be one of those that we first use it. It is not a need, but a want. Some people do that, but some, maybe there's an urgent need to pay some bills. There's an urgent need to fix your child's school fees, the rent, or some other medical bills that this is a life-threatening thing, and you are expecting some monies, but at that point in time you need to borrow. That's one of the reasons people borrow. Some people borrow to procure assets. We have said it. Pastor Kike and Jide have spoken about it. Assets like property, depending on how you see it. Some people see vehicle also as an asset. When they say, write your net worth and everything. So people borrow for that reason. Some people borrow for business exigencies. You have a business you are doing, and you really want to, you need money to finance that project or that contract to an end so that you can get paid. Some people borrow to take opportunities. Opportunities like, they said dollar is going to go up next week, or they said this shares is at 1 naira today, but we are so sure that by next month it's going to be 3 naira. Some people can go and borrow money at that point in time to buy at 1 naira, and then they are able to sell at 3 naira. So they intermediate and everything. Some use it to bridge some of their working capital and everything. Like I said earlier, some use it to fund lifestyle, to cope with societal pressure. Yes, and I put church pressure. At times, in the church we have today, if each time they are calling for people that needs to donate and you are not coming out, is a pressure on you. Or when the pastor sees you and doesn't greet you well and is greeting your friend well because you are not giving something. Some people will go and borrow. Let me see if I give the church this, if pastor will not call me this week and all this stuff. So some to avert and avoid shame, financial intelligence, beat inflation. I just spoke about a lot of naira being idle in people's wallets because they are buying dollars. They are not even putting it in banks, and they are not investing it in anything, just keeping dollars at home. Before you borrow, what are the things you should consider? The first thing you should consider is there an alternative to borrowing, to this money that I want to borrow? Do I have an alternative? Must I borrow this? Do I have options? Can I avoid doing this? So what you have to ask is, I belong to the welfare committee in my church, and we have a lot of people come with things. You see people put their children in private schools that are very expensive. Then this period, they have economic downturn, and they are writing to us in welfare that I want to pay my child's school fees. That is very expensive. Meanwhile, the alternative of our public schools are there. Not that they are not good, but the stigma or the way we live in Nigeria means you take your child to a public school, it looks like something that is forbidden. So if you come and you say you want to pay your child's school fees and it is not for a public school, we don't answer you. So can you scale down on what you want to borrow for? Is there an alternative? Must I use so type of phone when this other one will still serve the purpose? Must I live in this type of area since I can still live in this type of in another part of the town? So are there alternatives to you borrowing? So if you look at it and you see that, well, there are no viable options, then it's okay to consider borrowing. Financial plans, what are your projections? What are your exit plans? I mean, you already said this money I want to borrow. Where do you see yourself paying from? Where are you going to get money? When we are lending to you in banking, we talk about the C's of credit. We look at your cash flow. We look at a lot of other things. So this money you want to take, where are you going to pay from in case there is trouble? What are the terms of borrowing? I mean, a lot of us borrow just like that. There is one trend in Nigeria now. There is a trend in Nigeria now where you can borrow online easily. But by the time you finish borrowing, they tell you you must do something, on your app. And the next thing you see is that after you borrow, when you don't pay, everybody on your contact list will be getting text messages about you. But at the time people want to borrow, they don't care. So they expose themselves, they embarrass themselves. I've seen pastors on my call being called out. I've seen different other people being called out. I was watching a skit by Brother Shaggy and Macaroni the other day, and they said something is the Sonu Bank. And somebody wanted to borrow, and he just said, just sign. He didn't read, he didn't do anything. He borrowed, and then the implications came coming. So what are the terms of borrowing? A borrower should have a choice. Most of the times, because we want to borrow, we just take whatever it is. So you need to consider, is this a term that is feasible for me? Can I pay the interest and a lot of other things? Yeah, a borrower is a servant to the lender. Are you, by what you want to borrow, going to be selling yourself into slavery? If yes, you have an option not to take that money or borrow that money. Ensure you have a properly, I've said that, don't let me overflog that. Get a professional involved where necessary. And I think Jide and Pastor Kike said this explicitly. In Nigeria, we move by our own spirit and leading, most of us. We don't get professionals involved. I told my uncle, God bless his soul, most times, in those days, they were having a project and everything. And I said, our bank was not forthcoming on time. And I said, whatever any other bank gives you, please let me read the terms of the offer letter, because I know where we hide things, especially for Nigerians that don't read. So get a professional to read, to look at the terms of the contract of borrowing and deal with it. So quickly, there are some assumptions people make when they want to borrow. One major one in Nigeria is immediately you are borrowing from somebody, you are expecting that God will minister to the person and he will write it off. So it is wrong for you to assume that as you are borrowing from me, that God will minister to me to dash you the money. Before I became a banker, I used to see some money as embarrassing to ask back. But sincerely, if our terms of discussion is, please, can you borrow me 20 naira? And you don't pay back, I will come after you to recover it. Even if you say, what is 20 naira to him? And later they will call themselves brethren. Those are not the issues. If your assumption is that this money I am going to collect from this person, God will minister to him, he will write it off. Please don't go and borrow. Don't see your source of repayment as coming by faith. You must be clear that this thing I am borrowing, this and this and these are my sources of repayment. Yes, there is still that point of faith, because whatever you even put your trust in can fail. But don't make your primary source of repayment that, no, I will trust God. This money you have, no, trust God. God will provide. That's a wrong assumption. Then I've said that because we are Christians, we all get into this assumption that, oh, since this is in church, I don't need to sign agreements and don't know. You must be ready to execute proper agreement, whether you are the one borrowing or you are the one lending. I had a case yesterday of someone that gave about 3 million to somebody because the person was in trouble. Now it has become a problem. The person is not paying back and there is no agreement anywhere in place. So it has become a problem. So let's ensure that we don't assume that it is in church. It is not because Papa has said or Uncle has said, so that it doesn't look like I'm using church as an example because I know this is a Christian gathering and we make a lot of mistakes. While we were preparing for this, somebody said, in church, started something like, in church, can we do so things? And the first question, the learning point I have reached is that with the fact that we are in church does not mean we should let our guards off on a lot of other things. And I think all of us, most if not all of us, have been guilty of putting the church factor ahead of necessary due diligence. So do not also borrow to sow a seed in church. They have said that God has told me if you give 1 million and another so 10 million will come, then you go and borrow 1 million and you sow it. If that money does not come, don't hold the pastor responsible. If you sow debt, you will reap indebtedness in full measure. So I need to start rounding up. I can see my time is gone. What do we have to talk about indebtedness? First, I will tell you it is okay and legitimate to borrow. And personally, like I said, I don't think it's a sin. I will also say, do not be desperate for anything. Live within your means. Live within your means. When you are borrowing just to prove a lifestyle, is a problem. I'm glad to hear that people can have a scheme now. You can even save for your burial. You can save for several other things. There are different products that are happening now. But despite that, make sure you live within your means. Borrow to meet needs and not wants. Jesus said he will supply all our needs according to his riches and glory, not all our wants. Wants are desires. They may not be necessities. Borrow only when you need to meet needs. This contract, I have it. God has given me a breakthrough. It's a 1 billion contract. I have 300 million. I need 600 to do it. I can go to the bank and borrow to meet that and get paid back. I need to keep this child in school. I need to borrow, and then I'll pay back from some specific sources. And I'm not putting the child in a school where I know that I cannot even sort things out. Beware of loan sharks. Beware of loan sharks. Because right now, I've said it about the people that will borrow you money online. I've mentioned the risk of it. Some people will say if you borrow 100,000, you will use it to pay 130,000. You pay 30,000 on it every 30 days. Because you are desperate, you go to it. And by that, you cannot even repay the interest. Talk less of starting to pay the principal. So don't go to anywhere. And I tell people, it may be difficult to get loans from banks, but eventually they are a better source, even though some of you will also still not agree with me. But don't go and meet people that will say it's 20% flat, 30% flat, and then you are in trouble. Borrow to fund business ventures that leads to expansion or profitability. Never borrow for speculative business. Sister Kike already spoke about MMM, and there are several others today that you can get involved in, and then you'll be in trouble. So don't borrow. If it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. Take calculated risks. That's why I'm saying if you need to borrow and take risk so that we can, nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's what he said. So if you need to borrow, make sure it's for things that you can see and you know. If it is a business venture, be aware of other funding options. One problem we have in Nigeria is that we like to own everything by ourselves. One of our big brothers said in Nigeria, maybe, we have this ownership mentality. You don't want to share anything with anybody. But at times, if you have a project, can you call other people in to invest in it instead of borrowing? So you share the risk and you share the profit. Collaboration is the new normal. When you have anything to do, instead of straining and stressing your own finances, why don't you bring people in? And some of the things I've seen people float cooperatives and whatever to invest in joint businesses and everything. Instead of putting all the risk to yourself, I have 10 million naira and I have a project that will cost 10 million. Why don't I keep 7 of my own money, put 3 million and look for other people to put in money? And we share the risk. I mean, this one in particular to business. So those are options that are available. There is crowdfunding, there are business angels, and a lot of other things. Seek professional advice. Even if you have a leading on something, seek counsel. Bible says, get wisdom, get understanding. So seek advice, and then you find out that you'll be better off. In the multitude of counsel, there is safety. Beware of how you guarantee other people. Pastor Kike also spoke about that. Don't carry all your own life savings to go and now, the only house you are living in, you go and give somebody to use as collateral. The person does not pay. They come after you. And then you start saying this other person is wicked. In fact, the Bible stated clearly in Proverbs about you avoiding to guarantee people. And so that's one other thing. So that's all about, in a nutshell, about debt. I mean, just to touch on some key nuggets is, while it is not wrong to borrow, don't borrow with the intention not to pay back. Don't borrow for wants, borrow for needs. Look for viable options. Scale down on your if your lifestyle that will require you to borrow is something that you can scale down, please scale down on it and everything. So quickly, I'm not going to be talking so much on gaming and betting, but I will just read this scripture that touched me. He said, just because something is technically legal, I mean, and it's from 1 Corinthians 6:12. Just because something is technically legal doesn't mean that it's spiritually appropriate. If I went around doing whatever I thought I could get by with, I'd be a slave to my whims. From the Message. A lot of people see betting and gaming as, in fact, when I was reading about it, they see it as gambling. Gambling is not a word that you want to hear or see with children of God. What is motivating you to go into betting? What is motivating you to go into gaming? Is it spiritually, like this scripture said, appropriate? Do you find yourself doing it with the right motives? A man's way may seem right before him, but God weighs the motive. Some of us are going into gaming, MMM, and a lot of things because we want easy way out. God is a God of process. But as much as possible, you should avoid what is just to give you an easy way out without you sweating it, without you going through the process. Gaming and betting for me is not a sustainable source of livelihood. It's a game of chance. It's a game like gambling. It's either here or there. You just try it, and if you are lucky, we have seen people make plenty money from it. So I will not say I will not say that people don't make money, but the essence behind all of this, they aggregate from others and then they pay a little to just one person and you move on. It can lead to your loss of investment. It can be addictive and self-destructive. Gaming and betting, we've seen a lot of people get into addiction from it, and they have destroyed themselves. Well, like I said, we've had people that have done betting or whatever, and they've made something out of it. But then what happens with what they have made? So that's the flip side. And then you should consider, when you get such things, you consider investing in tangible options with clear financial projections. For me personally, I won't go into betting or gaming because I don't think it's the right thing for me to do. But I've also seen people that have gone into it and they have made one or two good things out of it. So the rule of thumb for me in it is just because something is technically legal doesn't mean that it's spiritually appropriate. So food for thought in that area. We look at different things in my I'm through with my slide, but in my closing remark, we look at different C's when you are borrowing. It started from 5 C's of credit to 7 to 8, and it keeps growing. We look at your character, look at your capacity, we look at your capital, we look at your collateral. What are you going to bring in your contribution? How much control do you have over what you are doing? And that's what I was talking about on betting. Do you have control over the business you are trying to do? What are the conditions surrounding the money you want to borrow? And most importantly, common sense. Some things don't need prayer. Common sense tells you that this is just not it, and you don't go into it. So when you look at all of these factors, you are able to now take a tangible or informed decision. Above all, when you pray, I know God will continue to meet our needs according to his riches in glory. Thank you. I overshot by like 5 minutes. Apologies for that. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you very much, Pastor Yinka. Thank you so much. If it's too good, then it is too good to be true, right? That's our slogan for today. And while it is not wrong to borrow for only what you need. And then from what he has said, he has also encouraged collaborative efforts in terms of investments. Well, as a business person, I have a clause, a response to that. A lot of people only want to see that your books are fat before they come and drop money in your idea. So that's where our difficulty is. We do not have faith to invest yet until we're seeing heavy millions in the books of the company. Anyway, so please, if we have any questions for this session, please drop them in the chat group so that we can ask Pastor Yinka before we round off. We are already at the end of this meeting, having our 3 panelists address all our topics concerning the Ministry of Finance. Thank you, Pastor Yinka, again. That was a nice brief summary. The indebtedness session was very interesting because the way our economy is going now, there's all sorts of quick cash, palm cash, fair money, everything at the click of your finger. Everything is called a loan now. And like you said, I've also received a lot of messages regarding people's indebtedness to systems. They would send their details, their photographs, and ask you to please communicate with them and ask them to return the money. So we have to think carefully about our engagement in indebtedness. Betting is our new generation people that now live a life of betting instead of even working. They just sit at betting locations because they seem to think it brings more money than even unemployment. So this talk can also be taken to our youngsters, not even only us on this platform at this time. So please drop your emails also so that we can forward the slides of this meeting and the recordings. If you missed any part of it, please drop your email. I also think that our admin will put up this recording at some point on the WhatsApp platform, but for people who are not already on the WhatsApp platform, you could drop your emails also so that we can forward them to you. Thank you everyone for this time this morning. It's been a long, refreshing time talking about money, talking about retirement, talking about investment. So I think I'm handing over to Pastor Kayode Fashiye at this point to end the meeting. Thank you everyone for logging and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ola, for a very good job. And we want to thank everybody in the room for taking out your time to attend. I mean, we know how difficult it is to get people on a Saturday morning. They say Saturdays are for weddings, and then you want to rest as much as possible before you go to the people and fix your nail and then do your gilly and all that. But you have come in very early this morning and we don't take that for granted at all. Thank you for by the way, Ola is an engineer. She's a chemical engineer by profession, right? But by calling, I think she's something else. She runs a logistic and transport company and all sorts of things in her portfolio. You know, she's one of these Lagos big girls, and she's her ambition in life is to become a prayer warrior. I think she's one, you know, based on my interaction and association with her. I want to thank Yinka for deploying his skill and experience. Look at all the things that we've got in-house, right? We are so blessed. Jide Abraham talked about connections, that sometimes your connection can even be your investment. So it is important that we are deliberate about relationships, right? Check around you all the time. Who are the kind of people that surround me? If I get into trouble today, can I even get somebody that will stand up for me? So don't just go and be associating with, just any kind of people because they are just human beings, right? You have to deliberately watch your business connections and make sure that there are people that are godly. And by being godly, we're not talking about godly Yahoo boys. I hear godly Yahoo boys now, and all sorts of people. So, and that's one of the things that we are really trying to do with Revelations, to establish that kind of not just spiritual connection, but we're trying to establish a strong social and business network between us. It is something we can do because we've been here for decades, and we've not been able to separate ourselves. So really, I know what Jide Abraham was talking about when he was talking about Dipo Akinrinlade and the gentleman who was an ED in a bank, the biggest bank in Nigeria, and he explores, because I've even had to use them to do something at some point. So these things are important. So we shouldn't take them for granted. We thank Jide Abraham for coming through to. Jide is actually, it's amazing that this is somebody that now manages a portfolio of over 240 billion naira or 700 million pounds. Because at the time I got to know this guy, I didn't even have a car, but strategically watching him with godly methods and mechanisms, he was building everything gradually. And I'm sure, well, in the days when Yinka used to come to the UK, Yinka would remember him, and you remember that he didn't look like anything he's talking about today. But you see, God has given him unusual favor in a land where there's a glass ceiling, obviously installed over Black people. But God has helped him to break through all of that. We thank Pastor Kike, my longtime associate, very dependable woman of God. Look at the work she did. It was just so in depth. That was a book. That was a book, She's one of the most dependable human beings that you can ever find anywhere. And I can tell you that for free. So we thank you all very much. Next month, I was really hoping that we will stop these seminars and go back to our prayers full time. But well, I don't think the Spirit of God is allowing us to do that just yet. So we will continue for as long as we have to do this. So next month, we're going to be having something very interesting, very, very controversial, right? It's a real life event with Bumi Folari, and the title is Mind the Gap. So those of you in house, just watch the space and see how we push through on that. But it is something that people need to come into. We have a lot of girls right now in church, Christians, that are not married. The option of IVF without being married is opened to them, and they are under pressure to do this because their parents just want to see their grandchildren. They'll say the house is too quiet, and so much is going on. So what is the Lord saying? What is the mind of God about these things? When you bear those children, whose name are they going to bear? Considering that you don't even know their father, are they now going to be bearing your father's name? Is this the mind of God for procreation? You know, I have like 60 questions on that already from my interaction with people. So Bumfola is going to be taking us through that. It's going to be mainly a pastor's platform. So I'm sure you guys are already talking to them. There's one pastor we have from the US, we're getting one from the UK, and then all those in-house pastors here in Revelations, we need to hear from them. The Pentecostal ones, the Pentecostal ones, the conservative ones, you know, you need to bring in people like Pastor Muyiwa. We need to hear what God is saying. And then we need Korede Kolidade, who works in the Ministry of Productivity. He's a gynecologist. So we need him to come in. Thank you very much, everybody. And make sure you have Kemi Oyedepo. Thank you for coming in. Sorry, Kemi Adeoye.
Yes, sir.
Kemi Adeoye. I'm trying to remind myself.
Don't worry, it's allowed. Kemi Oyedepo, Kemi Adeoye is allowed.
Visitor.
Thank you. I know you had a small surgery yesterday.
That
That guy is going to bring a plate of rice to you from us, rice and chicken.
Thank you.
Mandates, right? I'm the only one that can handle that guy here. So
Someone asked the question about cryptocurrency.
yes,
Is an
we're
area
going to talk about that.
if we start, we will not have.
Do I still need to visit? Do I still need to visit her?
But I can only tell you that anything you do, control should be a part of it. And a lot is emerging. Governments are now beginning to come into. In Nigeria now, we have the Naira wallet. A lot of money is being made from cryptocurrency at the moment. But I can tell you that there is still a lot of controversy. It's not something that most governments have agreed to openly. But maybe Jide would have been the best to speak to that or whatever. But for now, cryptocurrency is threatening my job. So, it's something that I would just tell you, don't go into it without understanding it at all. How much control? What are the fallback? Who can you hold on to? Is it insured? If you have a problem since 2009 now, if a Nigerian bank is supposed to go under, there is AMCON to absorb it. Depositors have stopped losing money. When we were growing up, our parents lost money to Forum and was the bond.
That's correct.
But there was no control and everything. But when SLS started in 2009 or so, or 2008, I started AMCON. If a bank is going to go under today, the shareholders can lose their shares, but depositors don't lose. So if something goes wrong today, what are your fallback as far as cryptocurrency is concerned? Those are some of the questions you may need to answer before you take that investment decision. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So if you need to also speak to Jide Abraham, the investment guy in the UK, for those of you that might be looking at investments in hard currency, please, you can reach out to me or something. I'll give you his number. He's a guy that I can tell you that is dependable, professional, and trustworthy, you know, all rolled into one. You cannot have any fears dealing with them. Jide Abraham. Jibo is there. Jibo speaks all over the place. He was referring to Jibo. Maybe one of these things will bring Jibo so that he can come and see what is inside his mouth, since Jide kept talking about him. But for next month, we're going to do Mind the Gap. Meanwhile, in terms of this cryptocurrency thing, I called Jinka a few months ago, because people were agitating for Nigeria to break up. So somebody said, okay, those of you talking about break up, if we break up, who is going to pay the Chinese loan? So I was concerned. I called Jinka. I said, how much are we owing? He said he doesn't know, but that the money is a lot. Okay. But I think a few days ago, I saw something somewhere where they said we are owing them like $30 billion or something like that. So at least we're having some kind of figure to it now, you know. But in terms of finances, for now, we'll put a pause on that. There's so much we have to do. We have legacy, upload or download in January. There's just so much that God is helping us. But next month, we will see you all at Mind the Gap with Bumi Folari. God bless you and have a very restful weekend and enjoy your parties, right? Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
If you need Revelation's email address, just hang on it.
Bye-bye. Thank
Yeah,
you very
in
much.
the chat room, you can pick it up before you sign out. That's if you need our email address to contact Dide. Mummy will share it shortly.
Auntie Amnesty.
Ẹ káàárọ̀.
Uncle Yinka, ẹ káàárọ̀.
Èwo ń tán kú, téèyàn bá ti fẹ́ ríyàn, téèyàn bá fẹ́ ríyàn, kí ló máa ń pè lọ́hùn. Ṣé ìṣe wà ní Uncle Yinka ẹ̀ wá ókè o?
Ó ṣe pé ẹ̀yin ní uncle ni. Àbọ̀ kì í ṣe.
Èso ọ̀nkú o, máma pè mí lọ́nkú, yọ ọ̀nkú débọ̀ yọ fi
Brother Yinka.
ọmọrin lágbájá.
Ẹnu tàwọn ìbò.
Ọ̀gá, lágbájá sì ni àná Kẹ́mi ni.
Uncle Yinka.
Kí ló yẹ tó ṣe fẹ́ tú mi síta? Ta ló sọ fún ẹ pàmì lágbájá?
Hello, sir. Hello? Yeah, no, I've left.
Hello?
Auntie Liar.
Make sure
Ẹ jẹ́ ká ríra lẹ́yìn sí o.
kí a ríra lẹ́yìn o.
Yes, ma.
Gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ̀ ń ríra lẹ́yìn ìsìn. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Sister Kemi, ẹ máa pẹ̀lẹ́.
But Dr. Tayo, how you doing?
Sister Kemi, I'll call you soon now.
Okay.
I still need to find out if you are present. Well, answer.
If I'm present, where?